Coming up next on All About Android, I'm Jason Howell. My co-host Ron Richards joins me. Also, Madonna Ciamboa, who is the developer of Budgeting Buddy. She actually talks a little bit about her experience developing that app and developing SDK. Whole lot of stuff there. But also, we talk about Amazon's App Store and how it doesn't work on Android 12. And that goes for all the apps and games that are also on the App Store. Kind of crazy. Qualcomm's new Snapdragon 8 Gen 1 processor is going to power Samsung's new 200 megapixel camera sensor. Google Play's best of 2021 apps. We've got a whole lot more, as well as your emails, of course, next on All About Android.
Podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
This episode of All About Android is brought to you by Audible. Audible is the leading provider of spoken word entertainment. And right now, for a limited time, save 60% on your first 3 months of Audible. That's only $5.95 a month. Give yourself the gift of listening. For more, go to audible.com/allaboutandroid or text All About Android to 500-500. And by BetterHelp. Join over 1 million people who have taken charge of their mental health. As a listener, you'll get 10% off your first month by visiting betterhelp.com/android. And by Udacity. Udacity offers online education that is geared toward people looking to take their tech knowledge to the next level. Get the in-demand tech skills you need to advance your career. Visit udacity.com/twit to learn more. Hello and welcome to All About Android. This is episode 553, recorded on Tuesday, November 30th, 2021. One day shy of December of this year. What happened to this year? It's so crazy and my mind is blowing. This is your weekly source for latest news, hardware, and apps for the Android faithful. I'm Jason Howell.
And I'm Ron Richards. And Jason, I'm looking forward to a clean-shaven Jason tomorrow.
Oh, are you, Ron? Who said I was shaving this monstrosity off my face?
You're going to keep it going?
Well, I've never done this before. So now I'm like a month in, and I'm like, well, I mean, if I've never taken it this far, I guess I could take it further and see how weird it gets from here. I don't know. Maybe I'll challenge myself to the end of the year. I don't know. I might also wake up one day in the next week and be like, I can't take it anymore. So who the heck knows?
Yeah, I wouldn't blame you there. I wouldn't. I go a week and I'm like, oh my God, get it off. But but good job on making it the whole month of November. Very proud of you. So
all these things that like, men who grow out their facial hair that they probably take for granted, I'm like experiencing for the first time, like when I'm talking and I can feel my breath moving hairs on my chin. Like that feels really weird because I've never felt that in my life. But meanwhile, I sound like a teenager who's, growing out my hair on my face for the first time. It's basically what I am.
Jason's
basically who I am right now.
He's all grown up.
I want to welcome to the show. This is an awkward intro. It's normally not this awkward anyways, so I apologize. Madonna Ciamboa, who is the Android developer at Stream. Let's see here. I got a number of things to introduce you with. Android developer at Stream, Google developer expert for Android. And this is actually the reason that we kind of came across you. Mike Wolfson, who's a friend of the show, emailed us and said, you got to get Madonna on. So that's part of the reason why you're here. So thank you, Mike. Women Who Code Mobile Global Lead, Women Tech Makers Ambassador, and the founder of Budgeting Buddy. Welcome to the show, Madonna. It's nice to have you here.
Thank you very much, Jason, for having me. And also shout out to Mike, who's amazing, for inviting me to the show. I totally appreciate him.
He is. He's an awesome guy. Normally, Mike is the guest that we have on either the episode before Google I/O or the episode after Google I/O. So it's either
it's
what
like
do we think
tradition.
we're going to see? Yeah, it's a total tradition. He's been on for years.
Yep. And always he's got so many great contacts in the Google developer community.
Yeah.
And so Madonna, it's great to welcome you to the show. We always love hearing from the developer perspective. So that's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Ron.
Yeah, it really is great to get you here. So we're going to jump into the news and then talk to you a little bit about who you are, what you do, and then everything else that we have in the rundown. So Burke, let's dive into the news.
All About Android launched more than 10 years ago, and I still can't get a good Android news bumper going.
You know what? If you keep trying, if you keep working on it, Burke, you'll get there.
It's at the point now where I feel like 2022 we have to revisit the whole concept of the bumper. It might be time to retire it.
Oh, I'm ruining it for everybody. Well, you know,
things change. It's just the way it goes. We'll see. I don't know, Burke. If you stand forward and proclaim that it needs to stick around, I'm open to what you have to say.
I need to think about that a little.
All right. Okay. You think about that. All right. So top of the news this week is we want to chat with you a little bit about kind of who you are and what you do, Madonna. It's so great to get you here. You have a lot of experience in the Android realm, and we have, in the last couple of months especially, we've really tried to focus on bringing folks on who have more of that developer insight, the developer experience. I'm not a developer. Ron's not a developer, though. Ron, you've worked directly with developers for things that you're doing. So in some ways, in capacities, you have a little bit more experience than I do.
Yeah, I mean, I've worked as a product manager. I've worked in marketing and biz dev, and I've worked directly with the product team building apps and stuff like that. So Madonna, I know I'm one of those annoying people who know just enough to be dangerous. Right, like who can, in terms of like what is possible, but that sort of thing. But I have the utmost amount of respect for folks like yourself who actually make these things happen and get these apps made into the world. So it's a total respect there. But all right.
So tell us a little bit about your time with Android. Like, what brought you to Android? Where did you come from? And what are you doing now?
Yeah, that's pretty interesting. So my journey began back in 2014, and I used to work as a junior Java developer. And during this time, I was just doing inventory systems. And what I can say is that the one thing that I learned is that I wasn't feeling like my work was being appreciated as much. And one of the reasons I keep saying that is because I used to build these things that nobody could give me feedback on. And then I used to have this phone, a Nokia, and then it had apps. And I kept wondering, how did they make these things that we're using? I thought that was a pretty cool technology, and I wanted to know how they did it. And funny enough, I started researching, and I learned that actually you can build those apps using Java, which was the language that I was using. And with that knowledge, I decided, wow, so I'm going to try it. And then I started digging deep, that is finding code, finding things on GitHub. And then one day I remember finding this broken project that did like a simple game. And then I tried to do it on Android. I wasn't successful with the first run, but then on the second run, I kept pushing. And then that's how I was able to launch my first application, Simple Math. So Simple Math, I launched it back in 2015, and it had over 500 downloads with a 4.5 rating. Can you believe that? That blew my mind. And then all the comment section on the rating, I was like, oh my God, people are loving this app. Like, people are appreciating my work. And that's what has made me stay in Android. The other interesting thing that I learned about Android is that back then, we had like activities. We didn't have any fragments. We didn't have any other like architecture pattern. We only had the MVC. It was so hard actually to build upon it. Now that I'm looking at it now at this advanced level, and I'm like, wow, this far we've come, and now we're almost going into Jetpack Compose. How amazing is it that Google has maintained this culture of improving the way we build an application, and that is what has made me stay. Because, I mean, looking back at how my code used to look like, the only thing that I know that has not changed is how the manifest looked like. And which other thing? And the XML, which now is changing. But otherwise, everything else was so funny. Like I used to have like so many activities that would follow each other. Like intent, open an activity, start the activity. After this, open this other activity. And now we only have fragments and navigation. I mean, it's amazing. It's just amazing. It blows my mind too, that improvement. I mean, seeing it in that level makes me appreciate it more.
Well, yeah, and I think it's also not only the refinement and I don't want to say simplification, but like kind of the evolution of it, like the maturity of it. But also when you step back and look at it in the time period, like only in the span of a few years has this actually happened, right? It's been very fast.
Yeah, it's been very fast and pretty interesting also. Like we used to have SQLite and now we have Room. And the other day I was just using Room at our application. I'm like, wow, look at this simplification. And then actually to mention it, so back in 2018, when I won the Grow with Google Scholarship, I was able to build my second application, Budgeting Buddy. And Budgeting Buddy now has almost 10,000 downloads with a 4.5 rating too. What a coincidence.
Wow.
You're a lock at 4.5. You got 4.5 nailed as far as ratings.
Good.
That is good. Yeah. If you could be a lock at a certain rating, 4.5 is about as good as it gets. Yeah, that's great. I think what I love about what I'm hearing about your story is, it really, in essence, you haven't been developing for Android about 5 or 6 years. That's a long time, but in the grand scope of things, it's a pretty short amount of time. But what I hear from you is that you've recognized this interest in the beginning, and it's like you were driven, like there was something inside of you that was driven, that was so interested in this, that you were driven to learn more and to seek it out. And, that's like passion at play, essentially. And that's really cool that you were so driven by that you almost couldn't accept not learning more, and look at where it has taken you over the course. It's really changed the course of your career.
That is very true. And also to mention, when they brought up, let's say, when they told us that now we need to stop using Java and using Kotlin, I was a bit discouraged, because I was like, oh my goodness, I have to learn a new language now. But I realized, using my application that's being used and consumed by actual users, I can go back there and refactor my entire code and try to write it now using, let's say, the new Hilt, let's say the new Kotlin. And now I can say that Budgeting Buddy is fully Kotlin from the first code to the last code. And like you mentioned too, Jason, the passion is what has made me stay, and also giving back to the community. Because what I decided to do with Women Who Code Mobile was just to teach what I learned. And that has also helped me maintain the knowledge of knowing the Android stuff, even though sometimes it's not easy, especially now that I'm working on an SDK.
Yeah, right. And you had mentioned that a little bit earlier, and we'll get to the SDK in a second. But I think you're so right? Like if you get to a point where you know something enough that you can start to teach it to someone, and I think a lot of people might be in this position and be like, I'm teaching someone, but God, am I the right person to teach this person? Do I actually know enough to teach them? But you do. It's a lot of times we don't give ourselves enough credit around that sort of thing, and in doing something like that, we end up becoming even better at what we do, just by kind of reinforcing this knowledge and translating that to somebody else. So that's a really cool place to take it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That is very true.
Yeah. Talk about the SDK. You mentioned the SDK. We've talked to a number of developers on the show about the facets of developing for Android, and the impact of Android 12. We had a fascinating conversation last week about the impacts of Android 12. Or sorry, this wasn't last week. This was the week before with Anise Davis, about the impacts of Android 12 on app development and everything. We don't talk a lot about developing an SDK, which it sounds like you're doing with Stream. Talk about how that's different from what you've experienced in creating Budgeting Buddy.
Oh, yeah, that's a very good question. And what I can say is that it was a major shift for me, especially not knowing how I would now be catering for developers instead of real customers.
Right.
In this case now, our customers are actually other developers, which is pretty interesting. And there's so many things that goes into making an SDK. We have to consider the security, how are we creating our structure, how will they be able to access these classes that we want them to see? We can't expose things that we don't want them to see. So there's a lot of planning, there's a lot of testing. And also, how do you test your own app? How do you test your own SDK? Just creating a dog-fooded app where you can just be running some of the stuff that you're doing with your SDK, which is pretty interesting. And also, one thing that I've learned is that RX, I used to be against RX, but right now I like it because it's pretty powerful. Because the things that I've seen us doing on SDK with the RX, it's pretty cool. Even though I know there's a new push to start using the coroutines, but still, it's always good. I've learned that over time now, that it's always good to just use the existing stability as compared to the new ones, because if you get stuck, what are you going to do?
So Madonna, you're doing so much work with the community and with the developer community, and especially with women who code, which is great to do. What advice do you have for someone who sees all this going on and wants to get involved and start coding and start making apps themselves? What is the best kind of way for them to start? What kind of advice would you give to someone who's just kind of starting out?
Yeah, what I can say is that communities really help a lot. And finding your community is the ideal thing that makes it work, because with a community you can look at events that are happening around you. For instance, I run a study jam where I just teach code labs, which is super awesome. Like, we go through beginner, intermediate, and like expert. So when you get those kinds of events, I feel like those really help a lot and would really help you if you're a new developer who wants to learn something new. And also, something else I would say is that there are YouTube videos that show how you can build your application. Also, following people that talk about Android just to know about what's happening. I feel like that's pretty cool. And also, I can mention using some of the, I know there are some that are free and some that are paid. For instance, the Udacity course, they're really helpful. It helped me a lot, actually, on my Android journey.
Cool.
I had a little bit of a brain fart earlier, but I just remembered what I wanted to ask you, and this touches on something that you were talking about earlier about knowing your JavaScript code, and then Kotlin coming along and having to kind of use Kotlin ultimately to kind of rejigger Budgeting Buddy. Would you say, from your perspective, that the better way for a developer who wants to transition from Java to Kotlin, the better way for that person to learn something like Kotlin would be to have an existing kind of idea, code base, or something to translate ideas into, or start fresh? Because it sounds like because as I think about it, it's like you had this fully realized vision, this idea, this app, and now you have this new way of translating it into it. It kind of removes at least part of the complication of learning something new, because you don't have to think of what you want it to be. You already know what you want it to be. Now it's just a matter of translating the code between. Was that a very useful approach for you as far as learning Kotlin?
Yes, that's a very good point. And you actually put it very well, that I'm wondering, wow, you just read my mind. One thing that I can say, though, is that everybody learns differently. And one thing that I've noticed is that what works for me might not work for everyone. But me having a project that I could translate to Kotlin made it much easier. Even though, to be honest and fair, I feel like sometimes I forget how to do it in Kotlin and have to Google the right syntax. And also, this is so funny that the other day I was just trying to just do an algorithm on myself just to practice a little bit. And I noticed that my Java experience is it's going away, because now I'm full-time Kotlin. And my Kotlin is not yet very strong.
But that's okay. Kotlin's great to know,
Yeah, and now that made me... Yeah, that's very true. And then that made me think, I think I just need to decide I'm not going to do more Java now. Just change my mindset to, look, even if it's an algorithm, I'm going to do it in Kotlin. Because if I keep staying in between, it may take me a while.
Right. It becomes like a muscle. It becomes like a muscle memory kind of thing, where you've got to be in it and you've got to be constantly doing it in order to. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. I laughed at myself.
Too funny. All right. Well, so the one thing that aside from development that we like to ask everybody who comes on All About Android, which is probably the most important question out of all, Madonna, what phone do you use as your daily driver? What is your current phone that you're working on?
Yes. So, I'm using the Z Fold, the latest Z Fold.
Oh, the Z Fold 3.
Yes.
Nice.
Wow.
What do you think? What do you think of it?
It's amazing. I love it. And then it has the pen. I can write notes. I can take notes. I can take amazing pictures. I can record the screen. That's amazing. I mean, I didn't know that was possible, but now I can do that. And also, it has two-way video. I call it two-way video because that's what we call it at work, where you can record yourself and record the front too.
That's
amazing.
cool.
That's a pretty
That's really
awesome
cool.
feature.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Right on. That's so cool. That's interesting also because actually that makes me more intrigued to get to a story that's a little bit later in the show to get your insight on it, knowing that you have this large screen foldable. Totally, it's going to come in handy here in a few. That's amazing. Love talking with you about all of your development experience and everything. This is just the insight that like I don't have, right? We're big fans of Android, but we are not developers. So it's great to get folks like you on to talk about your experience behind the scenes. We have a lot of people who are developers who follow this show, so they appreciate it as well. But Madonna's not going anywhere. She's going to stick around and help us out with the rest of the news throughout the show, starting with this one. Ron, you got the next one. Go.
Yeah, so Android 12 is always on the top of our mind, and actually he's talking about making your apps compatible with Android 12 and, the developer approach to it. There's one app that still isn't functional on Android 12, and that's Amazon's Appstore. And that's actually not it. Amazon manages the DRM through their App Store, which means apps and games downloaded from their App Store also don't work on Android 12. And for those of you keeping track at home, it's been over a month. It's been 5 weeks since Android 12 came out, and Amazon is, quote unquote, still investigating the issue. Which really begs the question, how hard are they investigating the issue? Because you think like this would be, it's not like Android 12 came out of nowhere. We didn't know it was coming. They had ample time to do it. How does this happen? How does a company like Amazon let this happen?
What do you think, Madonna? How does a company, especially a company with the resources as a company like Amazon, if you had to guess, how could Amazon, being who they are, drop this ball, or is it intentional? I don't know. I don't understand how this happens. But if you had to guess, what would you think, Madonna?
I think if I had to guess, I would say it's not that easy because sometimes
it's not as easy as we think.
Yes, there might be some migration that's needed to support it actually. And one thing that I also noticed is that I think Microsoft are working with Amazon to have this kind of a system where you can download Android apps from. So
that's right.
Not easy. And I think either they're trying to migrate something and it's taking longer, because I know so far getting rid of the legacy code, it's not easy.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Well, and I mean, the real big bummer here is it's not just the store, like you said, Ron. It's all the apps and games that are offered through the store because they have embedded in them this DRM that is attached to the Amazon store. So it's not just like, oh, poor Amazon, their store isn't working. That sucks on one hand, but it's everybody else that's offered through it.
It's a waterfall effect. And what's fascinating is that, and what's frustrating is that probably a lot of developers who are doing their jobs release the app and put it on Google Play. They also put it on Amazon. And so you have an app that will work with Android 12 because you've done your work, but because you're distributing it through Amazon who haven't done their work for the DRM, now you've got a bunch of pissed off customers who are yelling at you, even though it's an Amazon issue.
Yeah.
Right. So it's a bad scene all around. And I can't believe it's that long for them, 5 weeks plus all the months we had of Android 12 coming in development, right? That's just crazy. So.
Yeah. Well, just if you want to take matters into your own hands, apparently you can fix these apps yourself. It's super easy. All you need to do is download the APK to another device, decompile it, comment out the references to Amazon's DRM, recompile it with a self-signed signature, then install that APK on your device. See, easy as pie. Anybody can do it.
That's pretty easy. Yeah.
No big deal.
Is that legal?
I don't know, but you know what? It was in an article and it made sense, so I put it in here. I'm not sure if that's legal. Maybe you shouldn't do that. If it's not legal, don't do that. Don't listen to me. Anyways, let's take a break, thank the sponsor, and then we will get into some hardware news. Got some really interesting stuff in hardware to talk about, including what I was talking about before, a story that I'm very curious to get your take on, Madonna, considering that you have the Z Fold 3. But first, this episode of All About Android is brought to you by Audible. Audible is so cool. If you love listening to podcasts, then you're going to love listening to audiobooks. It's just that simple. This holiday season will certainly be more special than the last. It's finally time to, get together, exchange thoughtful gifts with the people that you care about. And in the midst of all of that holiday excitement, just think about giving yourself a gift of an Audible membership. That's right. You can give to yourself. I've done it a couple of times already in the last couple of days personally. Now is the absolute best time to do it with a special offer of 60% off your first 3 months. With Audible, you can listen to more of whatever you're into because Audible has it all, an unbeatable selection of audiobooks. I mentioned podcasts, tons of binge-worthy podcasts as well, exclusive originals, all available to download or stream. As an Audible member, you can choose one title a month, like the latest bestseller or the hottest new release or, an audiobook that you've been waiting patiently to finally get around to listening to. That's yours to keep forever. But here's the best part. You also get full access to Audible's streaming library, the Plus catalog. So a lot of extra content there. Plus, you can discover your next podcast obsession. You can check that audiobook off your bucket list, get lost in a world of original content from celebrity creators. There's also best-selling authors, leading experts, the kind of stuff you can't hear anywhere else. And you can stream all you want, as much as you want. To use your Audible membership, you're going to need to download the Audible app, of course. It's a great app. They've made some really fantastic updates to this app in the last year. The Audible app is free. It can be installed on all smartphones and tablets. And, once you're a member of Audible, it's easy to get lost into the library, and then you end up listening to your favorite audiobook or a new audiobook that you didn't expect to be your favorite, and then suddenly it is, and now you're telling everybody about it. That for me has been The Storyteller by Dave Grohl. Dave Grohl, of course, Foo Fighters, Nirvana. And it's just, I love rock bios and autobiographies and everything. This is 10 and a half hours of Dave Grohl reading some just amazing, fascinating stories about, being in bands of that stature. I mean, about as famous as they come nowadays, but also about his family and everything. So it's just really engaging story. And there's a lot of them in there. So that's just one title, though. That's just Dave Grohl's audiobook. You can find so many others. No matter where you're going or what you're doing this holiday season, you'll always have just the right thing to listen to at your fingertips. Perfect for commuting, at the gym, long road trips, or if you've got a fire in the fireplace, you can just, turn on that Audible audiobook and save your eyes and just listen to it. Right now, for limited time, save 60% on your first 3 months of Audible. That's only $5.95 a month. Give yourself the gift of listening. For more, go to audible.com/allaboutandroid or text allaboutandroid to 500-500. That's AUDIBLE.com/allaboutandroid, or you can text allaboutandroid to 500-500. And we thank Audible for their support of All About Android. All right, it's time for some hardware news. Let's get to it. We've already told this story a number of times, right? There's some report that says, we don't think that Samsung's going to do any more Note series phones. It's not going to happen. And then now we have this new report by AT News that reveals Samsung's 2022 lineup of devices. And shocker, the Note series is nowhere to be found. So it is, we didn't have a Note this year. Doesn't appear that there's a Note on the lineup of devices next year. It really does seem like Samsung is moving on officially. Apparently the push is more to direct, all that attention, that extra attention over to their foldable lineup. But also should be, it could be just semantics, right? Because while the Note isn't going to exist as a device, there will still be, according to very credible rumors, the S22 Ultra, which will have the S Pen embedded into it, which is essentially a Note, right? So it's like, it's a Note from a different name. So, take from that what you will. But the report says that Samsung's doing this to free up their production costs, their efficiency for the foldable lineup. I'm just wondering, how are you freeing it up if you still kind of have it? You're just not calling it the same thing. But anyways, were you ever a Note fan? Well, I guess with your Fold, you have the S Pen. Did you have a Note before the Fold, Madonna?
Yes, actually, I got my first Note, the Note 3, back in 2014. So
No kidding. So you were a
kidding.
longtime fan. That's awesome. And did you in iterations of the Note series, did you end up, getting the next one and the next one, or was that your only Note prior to the Fold 3?
No, actually, so what happens is that in my family, we kind of like update our phones every 2 years, which is super cool. So when I got the Note, I got the 3, and then I jumped the next one, and then I got the next one. So that's what we normally do. And then I remember 2019, I got the S10, which I liked because it was big. It was just like the Note, and I was like, "Ooh, let me try it." And then that's the phone that I now exchanged to now get the Z Fold. So I had the S10 and now the Z Fold. But before that, I had the other Note, and the other Note.
You are like diehard Samsung user.
Yeah,
I know.
It's real, and we've talked about it in the past, like you said, and I appreciate the commitment to Samsung. But like the Fold is really the sequel to the Note, isn't it? I mean, like it like when the Note came out, and we talked about how bizarrely large it was, and who wants a phone this big and stuff like that. It's all the same conversations, Jason, we're having about these foldables, especially like the Fold, where it's like it folds out to be so big. Who would actually want this, and all this sort of stuff. It seems like it is the appropriate, not predecessor, what's the other, like following or sequel to the Note line, right? And as evidenced by a diehard Note user, Madonna, that you've adopted it, right?
Yeah, and I think the thing that I like about it now is that before it was so big, but you couldn't fold it, and now it just looked like something that can fit in my pocket, which is super cool. Like, and then I can just make it bigger and read my stuff. I mean, it's amazing. I love it. I know it's costly, but I love it.
Yeah, well, that is one thing, especially the Fold and not the Flip. The Fold is a costly device, about as costly as it gets for Samsung devices. Do you miss the functionality of having the S Pen compatible front screen? Because I know on the Z Fold 3, you can only write on the inside. You can't write on the outside. And when we've talked about this on the show, I've posited that, like, for true Note fans that are just used to like pulling it out and making their Note, like that's like an extra step and kind of fumbly and everything. Do you find that at all?
Yeah, I think that's a bummer. And I was sad, actually. Like, I was like, oh my goodness, why couldn't you just have us use it in both sides? Because sometimes I really just love having the small screen, because I don't have to always go to the big screen. But now it feels like I can only use the pen on the big screen, which is interesting and also not so good. But I'm hoping that's the next update. Samsung, are you listening?
Yeah, I'm hoping that too. That definitely gives them the room for something like that. Like, you've asked and you've waited, and now we deliver. This is why you want the next Z Fold.
Well said.
It writes on the front. Yeah. So you might get your wish someday in the next couple of years. All right, Ron, you got the next one.
I do, and we just can't stop talking about Samsung because. Yeah. Hey, are 200 megapixels enough for a camera? I don't know, but we're going to find out, because Ice Universe says that Motorola will be the first OEM to utilize Samsung's 200 megapixel camera, which was first announced this past September. Xiaomi will follow suit in the second half of next year, and Samsung will adopt the 200 megapixel camera by 2023. So we're seeing a 200 megapixel, inch its way into the mobile world. Also related, though, the next generation Snapdragon 8 Gen 1 was announced today, and it will support up to 200 megapixel images. And we can expect to see that processor on most of the Android flagships in 2022, as we continue to lay the groundwork for the next phase of hardware. But man, 200 megapixel camera. Do we ever think we'd live to see the day, Jason?
No, I also don't know how necessary. I mean, but hey, if you can,
wasn't the conversation?
That's always the conversation.
Yeah, that is not. It's not how many megapixels it is. It's how big the sensor is, or
right.
It's some piece of that which is escaping me now. But like, more megapixels doesn't necessarily mean it's better, right?
Right. But if you have more megapixels combined with a really great sensor, then maybe you're onto something. But yeah, I'm curious to know why Samsung is letting everybody else get in on the 200 megapixel camera action before they are. Are they like
Yeah.
not convinced or something? I don't know. Like, why are they waiting a year on this?
Yeah.
I would expect them to get right in on it.
Do you think they'd be the first one? Maybe they want to see how it's implemented or how it goes, or I don't know.
Yeah.
Madonna, how into cell phone technology, camera technology are you? Are you an amateur photographer at all, or are you just, it's mainly functional?
Yeah, I mean, I take photos of my kids, and I have so many photos that I actually had to upgrade Google Cloud. And one thing that I can say is that over the years, I've seen the improvement of the photos, the photo quality. And even now, the photos that I've taken that I'm using everywhere for my headshots, I took them with my new phone, and I can tell you, I think they're very good. I don't know. I don't even know how to explain it. I think it's awesome. I think the improvement is great.
Yeah. They've all come so far. And, with a 200 megapixel camera, it's probably doing the binning, down to, a smaller image, 50 megapixels per, quadruple down into a smaller, tighter image, the way that they've been doing the last couple of years. So you probably have the option to have like a full 200 megapixel image, but it might default to that kind of pixel binned reduction in size anyway. So, be curious to see where that leads.
But the next generation's coming. It's on the way.
Yep.
Yes, indeed. And then this is the story that on its surface might not be a whole lot here, but I'm curious to get your take on this, Madonna, because of your Z Fold. I'm realizing there were a couple of stories in hardware that were totally perfect for you and your, having the Z Fold. But Google is hoping to encourage developers to buy the Lenovo Tab P12 Pro tablet for testing for Android 12L. Android 12L is the version of Android that's coming out, at least in a beta form, next month. Probably within days or weeks at this point. But anyways, developers got an email offering 10% off the Wi-Fi model. It starts at $609. And I guess I was wondering, my question for you, Madonna, the deal here is meant to appeal to developers like you, I'm guessing. But is this at all... is Android 12L something that you, as a developer with an app that you're updating, is that something that, and a person who has a large screen device? So I'm sure you want to see your app excel on a larger screen device because that's the device that you have with you all the time. How motivated are you about this Android 12 update that's coming?
So let me say something cool that I saw with the Android 12. I mean, the way that it adapts to even the wallpaper, your app adapts to the wallpaper, that is amazing. And I feel like that is the next generation of building beautiful apps. I call them beautiful apps because an application gets people to download it if it's good, if it looks good. It's all about what they see. So I think Android 12 is a pretty good idea. And I feel like people should, I don't think people will be resistant. I know it takes time, but I think for me, I'm jumping right in. I've even started with the Jetpack Compose.
So are components of 12L already accessible through some of your developer tools? Has Google already started kind of seeding some of this stuff out, or is that coming in December, as far as you know?
I think, as far as I know, I've not played around with it a lot, but I would definitely refer back to the Code Labs and see if they have one already. I did see a presentation, though, on this Saturday through a GDG done by an amazing lady about the Android 12 migrating. I think your Jetpack Compose, and I was like, wow, this is pretty interesting. So myself, I would say I've not jumped into it and looked into it yet because we're still in the old land of XMLs. Yeah. But like I said, it takes time to migrate. So definitely something that new apps should adapt to.
Indeed. Would you Google has this deal around the Lenovo Tab P12 Pro tablet, specifically for Android 12L. Yeah. Is that at all appealing to you? To have a full-scale tablet, or I guess if you have the Z Fold 3, you kind of already have that.
Yeah, actually, I remember that I had not answered that part, and I was thinking, I don't know how many people use tablets these days.
Yep.
I don't know if we even support the tablets anymore. So it's going to be tricky unless they say they're going to bring up, what is it called? A Pixel foldable. Maybe people buy into it.
Maybe someday.
Maybe.
We're holding out hope here. That's for sure.
I'm hoping for it. I'm definitely hoping for it. That's for sure. But like, yeah, no, the tablet marketplace, we talked about this a lot recently, and the tablet customer base doesn't, it doesn't seem to warrant. It's a weird chicken and the egg kind of thing, because like there's not enough users to warrant dedicated development and ramped up hardware, but you won't get that unless you have apps that work great on it and devices that look great and are affordable and all that sort of stuff. And so so how do you approach kind of larger screen interfaces with your apps? Do you account for that, or do you just say, hey, people are using on their phones, I'm just going to focus on that experience?
No, what I would say is when we are designing, we definitely design in consideration, knowing that all our designs will scale to fit in different screens. But one thing that I keep wondering is why Android has not been up to par with the iOS world. Because I feel like in the Apple world, the iPads are doing pretty good. Because we have an entire testing just for the pad. Like myself, I use my pad for testing our SDK. So I'm like, I never use my tablet. So I think it's pretty interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, no question. Apple has it figured out on the iPad. And that's, that's been the year after year, the question around Android is like, how can the tablet space on Android finally reach its kind of potential? I don't know that it's ever really reached its potential. It's had moments where there were glimmers of hope. The Nexus 7 was a moment of positivity for tablets and Android, but it just kind of stopped there. And I mean, which is not to say that Android tablets aren't good for something. They are good for certain things, media consumption. They're really great at, but there's just some tangible thing, the difference between what the experience you get on an iPad versus the experience you get on most Android tablets. It's just, for whatever reason, it's just not seen as the same.
Yeah, and also if I can add on to that, I also feel like even at our company, if you count the number of people that use the tablets, you might find that there's none. Like maybe no one uses the tablet. Yeah, not enough.
Not enough.
I mean, we are already struggling with the Android. So can you imagine now saying we have the tablets too? But not to dismiss Android, because I think worldwide it's the mostly used. Because not so many people can afford the Apple products.
Oh, yeah. No, Android is not hurting as far as users are concerned. It has a lot of work to do on tablets. So maybe Android 12L will help that. But, these things take so much time, especially with Android. the space in between versions and everything, it just takes forever. So, all right, let's take a break, and then we will get into some app news. But first, this episode of All About Android is brought to you by BetterHelp. Maybe there's something in your life that's preventing you from achieving your goals or interfering with your happiness. Whatever it is, check out BetterHelp.com/Android. BetterHelp it's just so cool. We are so we're so comfortable nowadays being on video streaming. Like, we're doing it all the time. In the last couple of years, many of us, myself included, I arguably I do a lot of shows on the screen, but things like meetings with my company, like company meetings and talking with my parents and everything, all these things have increased our comfort around video chat and video conferencing and doing things that we once would need to be in person for, or felt that we needed to be in person for. Now we feel more comfortable doing this online. And that's what BetterHelp is all about. It takes that philosophy and applies it to finding a therapist and working with a therapist. If you've got something going on in your life that you need help with, need some support with, that's what BetterHelp is all about, doing this all online or on the phone or just an audio stream. It's really up to you. You can connect in a safe and private online environment, and it's super convenient. You start communicating in under 48 hours. But make no mistake, this is not a crisis line. It's not self-help. It is professional counseling done securely online. You can send a message to your counselor anytime. You'll get timely and thoughtful responses. Plus, you can schedule weekly video or phone sessions, all without ever having to sit in an uncomfortable waiting room. And it really is that easy. I was just messaging with my counselor earlier today, sending messages back and forth. The app essentially becomes the messaging platform. And because it's going through that app, they've put a lot of thought into the security, because, a lot of times if you're seeking help like this, you want to know that your information and your kind of reasons for being there, all that stuff is secure and private. BetterHelp is committed to facilitating great therapeutic matches, so they make it easy and free to change counselors if you need. It's more affordable than traditional offline counseling, and financial aid is available, and the service is available for clients worldwide. And you can find the particular expertise that you need online. You don't want to limit yourself to just the counselors located near you. That's the beauty of it. It opens up the world to you. You're going to find licensed professional counselors who are specialized in depression, stress, anxiety, relationships, trauma, sleeping, LGBT matters, self-esteem, family conflicts. I mean, you name it, you're going to find a counselor that you can work with that has a focus, and they have a questionnaire that you kind of go through where you can detail, like, this is my reason for coming to BetterHelp. This is what I'm looking for support with. And through that process, you end up getting paired with a counselor, and it's just a really easy, effective process. Anything you share is confidential. It's convenient, it's professional, it's affordable, and you can actually check out the testimonials posted daily on their site. In fact, so many people have been using BetterHelp that they are recruiting additional counselors in all 50 states. So I want you to start living a happier life today. Super important. As a listener, you're going to get 10% off your first month by visiting our sponsor at betterhelp.com/Android. Join over 1 million people who have taken charge of their mental health. Again, that's BetterHelp. That's HELP. So betterhelp.com/Android. And we thank BetterHelp for their support of All About Android. All right, it is time for some app news. Let's jump in.
It is that time of year. The year is winding down. I can't believe it. As Jason said at the top of the show, it's almost 2021 is almost behind us, and 2022 is ahead of us. But it is time for Google to announce Google Play's Best of 21, which is all of the apps that. There it is.
Oh, yeah, that works. Sure, there we go.
Yeah, there we go. Nice. Hey, wait a minute. That's our email of the week. Hang on. We can't let Google co-opt that. Come on. But so what's interesting this year with Google is that, as they celebrate the apps and games that everybody loves, and what's interesting, and also tied back to our conversation just now, to quote unquote encourage innovation across Google Play, Google's actually expanded the awards this year for apps and games on tablets, plus Wear OS and Google TV. So here we see the awards branching out, not just from just on phones, but also looking towards tablets and Wear OS, which I thought was fascinating, and Google TV. But here, we just want to get to the let's cut to the chase. Who's the winners? So the User Choice 2021 award for Best App, and I am shocked by this, goes to Paramount Plus.
I'm shocked by that too.
So I have Paramount Plus because I watched Star Trek and The Good Fight on it, and it's fine. Like, I don't know if it's that great, but like, if you're really into Star Trek, or you're really into Survivor, or they have like the NFL and the Champions League in soccer, like, I guess that has a lot of content that a lot of people like, but like the app has a 3.7 rating in the App Store. So like,
yeah, that's so weird. Are people judging it? Are people like voting for it because they like the content, or voting for it because they think it's a really well-made app?
I don't know. That's just bizarre.
Two completely different things. Yeah.
Yeah. Have either you used it? I mean, Madonna, have you used Paramount Plus?
I haven't used Paramount Plus.
No.
All right. Well, there it goes.
I have not.
Well, so you are not in step with the majority of users in Google. The user's choice of game of the year is Garena Free Fire Max, which I have not played, but it looks pretty intense. That's for sure. It's a mature game.
The battle royale game.
It looks like a battle royale game. Yeah, very Fortnite-y. And that has a 4.3 rating in the App Store. So there you go. And then overall, the best app, the award for Google gave the best app goes to Balance, which is Balance, Meditation, and Sleep. Which here in the very stressful year 2021, I guess a lot of wellness and stuff like that is a concern.
Totally.
And so there it is. So Balance gets the best app, and Google gave the best game to Pokemon Unite, which I'm sure our good friend Flo loves. But it's it's basically it's a 5-on-5 team up battle game using Pokemon characters. So.
Okay.
But there's also some other interesting stuff. They broke it out into different in the apps and games. They broke them out into different categories underneath there. So you've got apps, best apps for fun. Clubhouse won. Clubhouse was very popular earlier this year.
It was very popular. I don't know if it's still very popular, but
yep, there it is.
Seemed to fizzle out a little bit.
We said how they were rewarding innovation, so they have best apps for tablets. Canva one, which is a great app that allows you to do photo editing and design stuff real easily. Canva, as well as Houzz, Houzz, which is and then my favorite, which was the popular on Google TV category, Disney Plus, ESPN, and Tubi won those awards. No surprise there. And then as they get into the best game winners, there's a bunch of different categories. You got to look at all of them. A lot of games have
there's a lot of games stuff here.
Won, but I was happy to see that Marvel Future Revolution won for best competitive game in the best of game winners. That's a lot of fun if you're into Marvel and superheroes, stuff like that. That game is crazy good, so I recommend checking that out. Also my day job. So there.
I was gonna say full disclosure. Ron works for Marvel.
Yeah, full disclosure. I work for Marvel. So, but yeah. So a lot of cool apps in there. So Google Play, go through the list, see if you agree, see if your favorite is in there. Jason, we do this every year, but I feel like since we've moved away from doing the arena and like rating apps, I've gotten further and further away from like discovering new apps and like seeing, like, oh, what is this, cool app and that sort of thing. So I've even thought about what my favorite app of the year would be, because the one I probably use the most is like Slack. So like, I don't know.
I mean, yeah, it really does kind of blow my mind to see this list and be like, okay, now I'm really seeing firsthand just how disconnected I've become with apps and installing apps. I mean, I don't install apps nearly as much as I used to. And part of the reason that I was so often is because we had a weekly feature of like our favorite apps of the week. And so we had a reason to do that. But I think in general, like I would guess, at least for my own usage, is that my reliance on many different apps and sampling different apps has just really gone down in my usage of my phone. I've got my apps that I know I'm guaranteed to use. And unless I'm like, have that sudden desire to like find a game to kill time because I'm going to be, commuting or something like that, like I don't really go out and seek anything. What about you, Madonna? Like, has your app sampling and usage changed in recent years? Do you find yourself using less now than you used to?
Yeah, and I'm surprised that that's how you felt, because that's how I felt too. I don't know if we reached a point to where we got tired of the apps. And one day I was just thinking, I remember there was this thing, I don't know if I mentioned it right, but I remember there was something like called One Launcher, where you could at least have a launcher that launches many apps in it. I don't know if people stopped developing for it, but that was interesting, because I was thinking, what if we had one application you can download that has all these applications, which makes it easier, that you don't have to install individual applications all the time. So yeah, my interest really did diminish. So I don't know the last time I actually installed a new app, unless it's recommended or I'm like, hey, you need this app.
Right.
Or something comes along and it's like, okay, this is required, or a new social network that suddenly everybody's on and you feel like you kind of have to check it out or whatever. That was the case with Clubhouse. I don't even know if I still have that installed on my phone anymore. Like, yay, Clubhouse is on Android. And then I used it a couple of times just to like sample some rooms or whatever. And then I was like, okay, I'm probably not going to use that again. Yeah. App habits have changed. That is true, at least for me anyways. Well, if you still like apps and want to install them anyways, here's something to know. This is near and dear to my heart. The Android 11 power menu, which we've talked about on the show a number of times. I felt like it was one of the best features of it. No, I'm talking Android 11. Android 11 had the power menu that I thought was the best feature of Android 11, but then Android 12 came along and changed it. And we've talked on previous shows about Tasker's solution. Tasker has a solution to put those links back onto the power menu if you want. Well, now there's another app called ClassicPowerMen, and this is an app that, yes, requires root, but as far as I can tell, faithfully restores the power menu to its Android 11 glory. But there is that caveat of root. And of course, a lot of listeners and fans don't have rooted devices, but if you do, you can bring all that functionality back, and it's even better than it was in Android 11. It includes extra features that you didn't get on Android 11, like bringing loyalty cards into the Google Pay section as one feature. Material U compatibility, so you get that dynamic coloring of the app, and you can find that on GitHub. It works on Android 11 and Android 12. So there you go. I don't know. I've missed that feature. I'm still trying to get used to the controls on the lock screen. And half the time I pull up my lock screen and I hit to the home controls, and then it still asks me to log in, like punch in my code or whatever. I'm like, no, but I didn't used to have to do that. I used to just pull it up, and it was way easy to turn off my smart home lights. And now it's just a little bit more difficult. Whatever.
It's going to be okay, Jason. It's going to be okay. Madonna, with Android 12, was there any major change to the OS that you why did they do that? Or do you miss the power menu or the other kind of complaints about? What are your complaints about Android 12, that is?
There we go.
I mean, interestingly enough, I don't have many complaints. I don't know. I have been okay with it, and just looking at how, when comparing to the previous one or Android 10, I see a big improvement. I don't know if it's because I love design and I love clean stuff. I don't know, but not so many complaints. But I love when it's smooth and seamless. The only thing, though, sorry.
Oh no, after you. What was the only thing?
Yeah, so the only thing that I feel like frustrates me a lot, especially, and I know this is not only based on Android, it's just based on overall authentication. I feel like I don't like the way we keep asking people to log in and then ask them for passwords. I feel like there should be an easier way, even though I know now we have the biometrics. But I don't know which side frustrated me, and I was like, oh my God, I'm going to quit using this thing.
Well, I'm right there. I'm actually right there with you, because and by the way, Jason, I forgot to mention, and everybody listening or watching, I'm now using the Google Pixel 6 as my main daily driver. I did the switch this past weekend. Nice. And I got to admit, and I'm not using the case, by the way. I'm living dangerously.
Careful.
You can't see the coolness of it. But I will say that I was immensely frustrated just logging back into a lot of the apps where the login state didn't carry over. And using LastPass, which we know we've loved, former supporter of the show and all that great stuff. But the constant having LastPass detect the password as needed, tapping on it, going back into LastPass, authenticating with my fingerprint, then telling LastPass it's okay to fill the form, right? It's becoming so many steps that I could just type in the password. How is this convenient for me anymore? So I agree with you. There's got to be a better way to handle authentication. And of course we want to keep everybody secure and minimize, malicious intent or malicious use of our accounts and password being compromised and that sort of thing. But when I'm the only person who touches my phone, there has to be an easier way to do this.
Exactly. That was my thought too. It doesn't have to be this hard where I spend almost 10 minutes trying to figure this out.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, and Google has its own password kind of insertion through Android as well. I'm so embedded in the LastPass thing that I've never really just spent full time, on Google's insertion of passwords. And I wonder if it's a little bit less sticky, a little bit more seamless compared to like the LastPass implementation. I don't know. Coming from Google, maybe they've embedded it a little bit better, but I haven't put that to the test myself.
Yeah, we can only hope. Madonna, what do you think of Material U?
Super cool. Love it.
Yeah. All right. Well, so you'll be excited to hear then that Wallpaper Engine, a very popular app for the PC to create and control dynamic wallpapers, now has an Android version. It can use videos, GIFs, images, and Wallpaper Engine wallpapers. Some wallpaper elements include audio visualizers, clocks, etc. Wallpapers can be tied to the gyroscope, and it supports Android 12 dynamic theming from Material U. The app is free, but expanded capability is enabled when connected to a PC running Wallpaper Engine, which allows for easy transfer of import or of a number of community-created wallpapers. So the whole, injection of the wallpaper picking up, of Material U picking up your colors from your wallpaper and customizing the look of your phone that way really ties into that design piece. And now Wallpaper Engine seems like a way that you could even plus that up even more and put it on steroids. It looks pretty cool.
It is pretty cool. And actually, I wanted to mention before when I mentioned the Android L, that was the concept. I was forgetting the Material U, that word. Yes. It works very well with their wallpaper.
Cool.
Yeah, love it. Yeah, everybody was getting pretty excited about the Wallpaper Engine release. And I was like, I guess I don't have a PC, so why would I know what this is? But it looks pretty cool.
Here's the thing. People who are into their wallpapers on their devices are really into them. Like that is a passionate community, and I'm not even being sarcastic or facetious or anything like that. Like they are a committed, passionate community, and so I'm not surprised to hear this at all. So
yeah. Cool.
All right. Well, let's take a break and thank our final sponsor of the evening. This episode of All About Android is brought to you by Udacity. Udacity offers you an online education program that is geared toward people looking to take their tech knowledge to the next level. Udacity is specialized in exciting content that can help take you further in the career you want, and they offer the latest cutting-edge nano-degree programs you can't find anywhere else. Udacity is here to encourage your career growth. They want to provide you with the information about the career you want, give you the skills for that career, and then help you get the job. And here's one of Udacity's success stories. Aaron said, Udacity's nano-degree programs and Career Resource Center played an integral part in helping me land a job offer from Google. If you're looking to get into the most cutting-edge technology careers, you can get nano-degree programs in AI, flying car and autonomous flight engineer, intro to self-driving cars, machine learning engineer, robotic software engineer, and more. Udacity courses are created with partners and industry leaders in Microsoft, Google, IBM, AWS, and more. The best part is that they select team leads at top companies to be the instructors. You're going to get the right knowledge from the experts who are working in that field every day. And when you sign up with a nano-degree program with Udacity, you can expect a lot of awesome things, such as courses to be project-based with active learning that lets you test your knowledge, homework and projects that will be reviewed by qualified professionals, real human feedback and reviews with access to mentors 24/7, and best of all, flexible schedules where you choose what works for you, whether it's 5 to 10 hours a week. It's at your own pace, and you can graduate in as little as 3 months. 110 Blacks in Technology and Udacity have teamed up to offer part-time online tech scholarships for Black Americans who don't have a 4-year degree. They're offering 2,000 full scholarships for qualified applicants. Apply today at udacity.com, scroll to the bottom of the page, and select scholarships under resources. You can also upskill your entire workforce with Udacity. Check out the enterprise section of Udacity's website today to learn more. So get the in-demand tech skills you need to advance your career. Visit udacity.com/twit to learn more. That's udacity.com/twit. And thanks, Udacity, for making us smarter and better career people. Thanks, Udacity.
Thank you, Udacity.
Cool.
Appreciate it and love what they do. All right, it is time for some emails. So let's see here. Let's jump right in. Ryan wrote into AAA at twit.tv and said, "What's up, AAA? My wife's Honda Pilot has built-in Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. We have a mixed OS household, so my wife was looking for a multi-connector USB so we both could plug in when we were using the car. I hadn't thought about that. That's probably kind of complicated to do. Ryan says, unfortunately, despite multiple cable purchases, the USB-C plug would never allow the data connection to the car head unit. The iPhone connector would work fine for her, but I have had to use a higher quality cable that could carry data in addition to power. This could be a similar problem to the one that Jeff Jarvis was experiencing. And of course, last week, Jeff Jarvis was the email of the week, and he, was complaining. There we go. He was complaining about issues with his Pixel on Android 12 connecting to Android Auto. And I think we kind of landed there, which was like, well, it might actually be the cable. And I know that's what he was looking into replacing, was getting a solid cable to see if that fixed things.
So I will say, just an update on there. So once I did switch to the Pixel 6 over the weekend, the first thing I did was get in the car, and I got in my car, plugged in the cable. Android Auto worked with no problems. I did not replicate Jeff's problem at all. I was using an old red USB-C cable from a OnePlus phone, and that worked fine. So
interesting. Yeah. Your mileage may vary. Do you have much experience with Android Auto? Like, do you have an Android Auto head unit in your car, or use it on your phone or anything like that? Any thoughts on that, Madonna?
No, but that's interesting. I don't have any of it.
Yeah, neither do I. I don't have a head unit either.
I didn't until recently. One. Yeah, it's neat. When you buy a new car, that's part of the fun, is get it to work with Android. So
yeah, right. Part of the fun. It could be fun. Could not be fun too.
That's interesting, because I think of mine, what I do is, because I have the GLE and I use their app, which connects very well. I love how I'm just able to start it with an app. I mean, apps save life. But definitely going to look into, when I get a new car, doing that one.
Yeah, get an Android Auto head unit. Yep. Me too. Yep. Me too. All right, Ron.
All right. Our next email comes from a fellow member of the Legion of Rons. Ron from Michigan writes in and says, "Hey, All About Android crew. I wanted to write in since, like Ron," referring to me, not himself, "I was very interested in a foldable device. I purchased the Z Flip 3 about a week ago. I loved it at first. Just being able to fold the phone away and slide it easily into my pocket was great. That feeling didn't last too long. The battery could barely last through the day if I was lucky. Couldn't imagine what it would be like after months of use. The cameras were pretty bad. Of course, this is coming from the Galaxy S21 Ultra. But the biggest pain point was actually what I thought was the coolest thing about it. The fact that I had to unfold it every time I wanted to use it. Maybe it was just nostalgia that made me want the flip phone, but I don't think it's quite there yet. Maybe in a couple more generations when they have it spring-loaded. To me, it's more of a novelty right now. I wound up returning the phone after a week, and I'm back to my S21. Keep up the good work." Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So this is the Z Flip 3, not the Fold. Yeah. So this is the little clamshell one, right? But I did get the sense, when I went to the store to play with it and check it out, I did wonder what the battery life would be on it, because it is a very compact device. And I guess the function of having to open it every time you want to use it would get annoying after. I don't know. I don't think. I mean, Madonna, you're using the Fold as your daily driver. Like, are you like with the Fold? You're able to use it as a phone folded, though, right? I mean, So that's something that the Flip lacks. It has the smaller screen and the minimal interaction there. So.
I can imagine that might be frustrating, because mine, I can just use it without having to open the entire screen. So that's interesting. I'm also surprised by the battery life, though. That's interesting.
I'd heard that as a complaint from other Z Flip users, is that, okay, the battery is just not quite as good. Depending on how much you're using your phone, you're either going to feel that a lot, like it sounds like Ron from Michigan does, or less, depending on your usage. But yeah, I mean, it's a smaller device, so you're going to get a smaller room for battery. It's just the way it goes. It's physics.
I also have a tip that I would like to add in there. One thing that I noticed, if anybody has, like, let's say a new phone or just a phone they use, it's always good to check the device management. I don't know if it's called, you go to the setting and check, let me see how it's called. Let me see if I can get it pretty quick, because that really helps me optimize the battery. The device care. There you go.
Oh, device
battery
care.
and device care. Yeah.
And is that so that is a settings page for Samsung devices, or is that all Android devices? That must be Samsung. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, might be Samsung.
I did a search on the Pixel 6. I couldn't find that in the settings, but good tip. There you go. That's important. Yeah. Right on. Thank you, the other Ron. Ron from Michigan. Ron's evil brother, evil twin.
No, we're all good. We're all good. Members
all
of
the Rons are awesome.
Yes, yeah.
All right, and finally, we have come to the point of the episode where we anoint the email of the week. And this week, Jeremy, you got it. Jeremy says, have you experienced a rattle from the cameras on the Pixel 6 and the Pro? My first Pro was returned based on severe package damage during delivery and the rattle. The replacement also has the rattle. I found some sites that are saying it is normal because of the cameras used on the Pixel 6 phones. Is this something you've heard of or even experienced yourselves? So I've got the 6 Pro. Ron, you've got the 6. And I tested this out earlier today. I held it up to my ear and I went, can you hear that?
Oh, wow. I can hear that.
So there is a rattle, and the rattle has to do with the camera. I don't
have a rattle.
You don't have a rattle. I definitely have a rattle. And this is like a rattle.
Which way are you shaking? Which way are you shaking it? If I shake it left to right, I don't hear a rattle. But if I shake it forward,
like this,
you hear that?
like this.
There you go. Okay, I'm shaking it like this, like forward and back.
Okay, don't shake it like that.
Ron, do it like he's doing it.
Do it the other way.
I am like this. I don't have a rattle this way. I don't have a rattle that way.
Okay,
but I have a rattle if I do it this way. If I do it forward, I do it.
All right, this very scientific experiment.
Shake, rattle, and phone. Right?
We are 50-50 on the rattle. Google reportedly told a guy on a support forum. There's a Google support forum about this, and Google, I don't know who it was from Google, but said Pixel 6 Pro's telephoto camera for 4x optical zoom has a voice coil motor, VCM, to focus the camera quickly. If you shake the phone, VCM might make a slight rattling noise. This is normal. It does not impact camera use. You may experience the same on the Pixel 6. So I think it's interesting that you don't hear it and I do. Although they did say you may experience it. But if it's part of the telephoto camera, I don't know why you would hear that on the 6 because there is no telephoto camera on the 6.
Right, yeah.
But I definitely have it. You heard it.
We did.
But I had not noticed it whatsoever until Jeremy wrote this email and then I did it. And like in my day-to-day use, I'm not. Well, now I can't not hear it. There it is. Great. Thanks a lot, Jeremy. Thanks for calling that to my attention. Dang. You're the email of the week.
Good job.
There we go. Thank you, Jeremy. Congratulations. And thank you, Madonna Ciamboa. It was so great to have you on the show with us today. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, this was fun. I had fun. I almost got tempted to try mine if I can hear that.
Oh, do you get a rattle when you shake your Z Fold 3? Yeah, totally. It's like the Wii remote problem. If you're going to do that, just be really sure you've got that thing like you're holding on to it with your dear life. You don't want that flying across the room. That would be the worst. But I didn't hear any rattle, so it sounds okay. You're in the clear.
Yeah. Thank you very much again.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a pleasure. We got to get you back. Madonna, this is kind of the part of the show where you have the ability to tease or throw people anywhere you want to find things that you're working on or really point them to your social. It's really up to you. What do you want people to know?
Well, I'm on Twitter and my handle is at Madonna Ciamboa. I'm also on YouTube, the same name. If you search me, you'll find me. And then I also do GitHub and have an open source project for Android that I do. And that is I welcome developers around the world to just come and create a PR and just try to learn Android. So far, the project has, I think, over 17 contributors around the world, which is awesome. So if you feel like you want to do open source or want to try it out, please go ahead and start that PR request, create that pull request.
Fantastic. Right on. Well, thank you again, Madonna. This was a pleasure. It was really great getting you on today. My voice is suddenly dying. Really great to have you on. Thank you.
Thank you too.
And Ron, what about you? What do you want to point people to?
Yes, so if you want to follow me on Instagram at RonXO or on Twitter at RonXO, in fact, yesterday I posted a new video to Twitter with my continuing battle between YouTube Music, Google Assistant, and the Nest Home Hub. Burke, I don't know if you want to play the audio for that so everyone can hear what happened.
Oh, another one of these?
Play the album Let It Be by the Beatles.
Got it. Playing the album The Beatles' White Album, Disc 2, from your YouTube Music.
Nope.
No,
Nope.
That's wrong,
Nope.
Google.
That's
That is
not right,
wrong, Google. No,
Let It Be by
that's
the Beatles.
So obviously, my wife and I over the Thanksgiving weekend we watched the Get Back documentary on Disney Plus, which Jason, you got to watch if you haven't.
I
watched
know.
It. It's also right up your alley.
It's on my list.
It's 8 hours. It's a lot. But so really getting into the record Let It Be by the Beatles, and literally, so that video happened yesterday, and then this morning the two of us spent the two of us. There you go. There's a Beatles joke for you all. We spent 15 minutes trying to get the Nest Home Hub to play the album. Play Let It Be by the Beatles. Play Let It Be by the Beatles on YouTube Music. Play the album Let It Be. Like, it was just like unbelievable. And like what was fascinating in that 15 minutes that we spent this morning, I finally gave up and just put it on the record player, just to be clear. But what was fascinating about it was that not only did it keep wanting to play the White Album and not the record we wanted, we often got the results of them playing the song Let It Be, which I understand is confusing when there's a song on the album in the same title. At least that's a little closer. But every now and then it would just be like, okay, playing some music from YouTube Music, and just play something random and nothing to do with it.
Yes.
So
experience that. It's so frustrating.
So I tagged Made by Google. I tagged YouTube Music. I've been DMing with Made by Google. I feel like they know me by name now. And I have an open support ticket with Google where I basically said, I've done a factory reset of the Nest Hub. I've logged out of Google Home and relogged in. I've reset up the device. It's synced to my YouTube account. I'm a YouTube Premium customer. I've retrained Assistant to my voice. Like, I've done everything they've asked. I finally said to them, I'm like, this is a problem with your product. This should be routed to the product team. And the response I got was they're routing it to the product team. So I'm curious to see what comes out of it. But yeah, I will not give up on this fight. So
what's interesting about that is, like, even Scooter X in IRC chat says, I get playing the album Let It Be on YouTube Music when Scooter X does this. So it works for some, and then you're including video of your Nest Hub, which shows in real time what it thinks you're saying, and it knows what you're saying. It knows what I'm saying. It translates exactly what you asked for. It's just it takes that combination of words that's exactly what you said, and then somehow turns that into something completely different in the processing side of things. And that's what really points to the fact that it's a problem with the product. But I don't know why it's a problem with your product and not Scooter X's. Like, why is that?
But so Scooter X in the chat, are you doing that on Nest Hub or on your phone? Because I do it on my phone. It works fine, right? And what I really think it is I think it's something with the Google Assistant as the bridge on the Nest Hub to YouTube Music. Because my other problem with the product, and which is on my support ticket, is that for the life of me, I can't get YouTube Music to stop playing videos, which is like the death knell for having kids. Like, because I don't want them to be watching a cartoon version of Banana Phone by Raffi. But by the way, my hack around that is that if you just swipe left, or swipe right, I forget, you swipe in a direction, the clock, it brings the clock in focus over the YouTube Music app, and it stops, so you can't see the video. But I should
that works for now.
That works for now, but in the app, like in the YouTube Music app on my phone, there's an option to not show music videos. So why doesn't that carry over to my device? Like
totally.
So anyway, so that's the latest in my adventure. So
that's what kept me from getting a Nest Hub. That right there.
Yep.
That's why I don't have one. All right. Well, I hope that gets figured out, and I'm sure once it does, or if it does, you'll talk about it on this show. I'm fascinated.
I'm really curious if they've figured out who I am, though.
Right? Because it's Ron again.
Well, no, not so much that, but like also that like we come here on the show and talk about it, and tens of thousands of people hear me talking about this. Like I wonder if they figured that part out yet or not. But we'll see.
Good question. Good question. No clue. Thank you, Victor, behind the scenes, for editing the show and pushing it out to everybody. Thank you, Burke, behind the scenes, for pushing buttons, occasionally doing a news bumper, and giving us something to think about in the new year.
Not well.
With the news bumper.
Not well.
Ron said it. Thank you for making this show possible. Club TWiT, by the way, is a thing that we have for you. If you're interested in removing the ads from our shows, listening to our shows without any ads, you can do that. It's an ad-free subscription tier. All of our shows ad-free, also exclusive TWiT Plus podcast feed with lots of extra content, and a members-only Discord. That's just a heck of a lot of fun. $7 a month, twit.tv/club TWiT, and you can subscribe there. We hope that you do. But that is it for this week's episode. Thank you so much for watching and listening. We could not do this show if you weren't watching and listening. So thank you. Subscribe if you haven't already. twit.tv/AAA. We publish this podcast every Tuesday evening after Victor does all of his hard work turning it around. So once you're subscribed, you don't have to do any of the hard work seeking it out. It'll appear like magic for you. Thank you once again, and we'll see you next time on All About Android. Bye, everybody.
Hey, you don't have to wait till the weekend to get the tech news you need. Join Jason Howell and myself, Micah Sargent, for Tech News Weekly, where we talk to and about the people making and breaking the tech news.